For the law of syllogism, otherwise known as the chain rule, we just know that if P tells us that Q happens, and so if P implies Q, and Q then implies R, we can make a whole chain, starts with P, and goes to Q, and goes to R, and then we can cut out anything in the middle. So our conclusion is if P, then R. So we're basically cutting out the middleman. But we have to write things in order first. So if Rick takes chemistry, then Jesse will be Rick's partner. If Jesse is Rick's partner, then Rick will get an A. So notice we start with Rick takes chemistry, then we have Jesse will be Rick's partner, and then we repeat Jesse will be Rick's partner as another if part. So the conclusion becomes the hypothesis, then Rick will get an A. So if we cross off the things that are the same, as long as there's one in the conclusion and one in the hypothesis, then we end with if Rick takes chemistry, then Rick will get an A. So for example 2, we have to be very careful about the order. So we have to think about order of statements first. So before we do number 2, if we want to look at the cable company example that we saw, we have our eye patch guy. The cable company keeps you on hold, then you get angry. If you get angry, then you go blow off steam. That's when he was playing racquetball. So if you go blow off steam, accidents happen. If accidents happen, then you get an eye patch. If you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. If people think you're tough, they want to see how tough. If people want to see how tough you are, you wake up in a roadside ditch. I think that was the last one. So it basically said, don't let your cable company keep you on hold, because if your cable company keeps you on hold, then you will wake up in a roadside ditch. And basically when these are in order, you can see they're kind of color-coded. We can just get rid of all of the repeats because they're what happens in the middle, and then you're left with the beginning and the end. So your final statement should be, if the cable company keeps you on hold, then you wake up in a roadside ditch. Same thing with the Legally Blonde clip that we saw. Exercise gives you endorphins, or if you exercise, then you have endorphins. Endorphins make you happy, so if you have endorphins, then you are happy. And happy people just don't shoot their husbands. So if you are happy, you will not shoot your husband. So if we cross off the things that are the same, then we just have if you exercise, then you don't shoot your husband. So that's kind of where we land with that one. So if we go back to our notes example, we have to make sure that things are in the right order. So we have to go to the beginning. If you take a trip to Florida, then you will go to Islands of Adventure. If you go to Islands of Adventure, then you will go on the amazing Harry Potter ride. If you love Harry Potter, then you will take a trip to Florida. So we have to start with what is our, so I'm going to just give myself a little room to work. What is our first statement? So I think the first statement is, if you love Harry Potter, then you will take a trip to Florida. And the next statement will be if you take a trip to Florida, then you will go to Islands of Adventure. And then the last statement will be if you go to Islands of Adventure, then you will go on the amazing Harry Potter ride. So if we take out the things that are repeats of each other, so now this, by the way, is just in order. We rewrite the statements in order. Then I know this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So now I can take out the repeats. And I color coded them for you. So then your final answer should be your final conclusion should be if you love Harry Potter, then you will go on the amazing Harry Potter ride. So if we look at everything we wrote, instead of rewriting everything, we could have looked at what do we have in common where we have one statement that is a conclusion in one spot, and it's the same statement that's the hypothesis in another spot. So I color coded it with how I wrote it. And then let's see, we have the, take a trip to Florida. So wherever we have the repeats, what we don't have is a repeat of if you love Harry Potter, or loving Harry Potter, and then going on the amazing Harry Potter ride. So you could do that too, just to get straight to the conclusion that if you love Harry Potter, then you will go on the amazing Harry Potter ride. So for example 3, we're really just looking at repeats. So I have if A then C. Let me make this bigger again. If I have if A then C, and I have if B then R, if Q then W, if C then B, if R then Q. I'm just looking for where do I have any repeats. So let's see. I saw a couple of Q's, I saw a couple of C's, and I saw a couple of B's. And so what's left is if A, then W. So that's a way to do it without really writing out, or excuse me, without rewriting everything. That's my conclusion. If an angle measures less than 90 degrees, then it is acute. If an angle is acute, then it measures less than 90 degrees. Is this a chain rule? No, because I end up with if an angle measures less than 90 degrees, then it measures less than 90 degrees. That is not what I want. So this one is actually write a biconditional statement. This is not chain rule. I would just be writing an angle measures less than 90 degrees if and only if the angle is acute. So go ahead and try example 5, pause it, try example 5, and then I will show you what I got. Okay, so for the last one you should have had a smartphone is made by Apple if and only if the phone is an iPhone. Or you could have said a phone is an iPhone if and only if it is a smartphone made by Apple.